Right then, you mob, hello, and welcome back to Latics Lowdown for the first time in a while. Must be said, it's been the first time that we've done this in a while, in slightly more positive a light since the last time that we were here. Last time we were here, we were, I believe, were we still in the relegation fight? Has it been that long? And to be honest, we were probably deep in the relegation fight in that moment, but we have survived League One. Thank God. I feel like we shouldn't be celebrating this, to be honest, but you know, at least we've done it. I would say at least we've got out of the hellscape that is the League One relegation battle that we've been in a couple of times now. But we ended up finishing quite comfortably. Obviously, Gary Caldwell came through the door just, I believe, as the last few episodes of the Latics Lowdown was when Gary Caldwell had sort of got his feet under the desk a little bit and played his first couple of games out. I believe Stockport was one of the last times that we were here. But the main important business of today is the retain list. Obviously, once you've been in a relegation battle, I was on BBC Radio Manchester the other day, and they were saying about players that we'd want to keep. And I was saying, look, as much as we've survived the relegation battle, we were still in it for a lot of the season. And so there are a lot of players that we are going to want to shift on. And Gary Caldwell has been seemingly brutal with the retain list this year. We're going to be talking all things Jason Kerr, all things Will Aimson, all things Callum McManus and Chris Z have sort of made people perk up a little bit on Twitter. We will be covering all of those today. We'll be covering every single part of the retained list today as we get through. Good evening to all of you. Hello, Wardy. Hello, Ben. Lovely to this is you are, there we go, getting in your opinions on different parts of this retained list, because as I said, Gary Caldwell seemingly been quite brutal, and to be honest, I think it is needed. But we will be making our way through as we go throughout the evening. Get your early thoughts in. Any in particular shocks? I think I can imagine who the big names will be. But if you would like to get in the chat as we kick off tonight, your one shock of the retain list, the one that stands out to you, obviously Jason Kerr will probably be, I imagine, most people's, Williams and maybe a few people's, Chris Z, Callum McManus and others. But are there any others in there that stand out? And not just a retain list, maybe people that have been transfer listed. Joseph Hungbo, Baba Adiko, both been added to the transfer list. I think I was expecting Tyrese Francois to be on there, Johnny Smith to be on there, Ronan Darcy to be on there, and Melissa Asamoah was always going to be on there. But Baba Adiko and Joseph Hungbo in particular are interesting ones. Baba Adiko, slightly heartbreaking. I love Adiko a lot. But injuries or just form have kept him out of the team this year. A lot of it has been injuries. Interesting to see that he's not even going to be given a chance in preseason to sort of prove himself. But then you do see the likes of Tobias Brennan, the likes of Kai Payne coming through the academy, and it does get increasingly harder. The quality does go up and up and up. So maybe that is it. Maybe Tobias Brennan has just proven more to Baba Adiko. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out on loan rather than actually a permanent transfer, just to try and either recruit some value in him, or I'd hate to see him leave permanently, I've got to be honest, because I wouldn't be surprised at all if Baba Adiko leaves permanently. And I'm not going to lie, his technical ability, similar to Scott Smith last year being released, his technical ability at times leaves a lot to be desired. But I've seen Baba Adiko put in performances worthy of one of the best defensive midfielders in this league, off the ball in particular. And so it'd be a shame to see him just thrown to the wayside a little bit. Twice at Bolton away in those 2 4-0 years, he was sensational. And I'd hate to see this be the end of Baba Adiko, to be honest, a season where he doesn't really play at all and just sort of gets cast to League 2, maybe even lower. Ben getting in his early shock, just Kerr for me, to be honest, but also Z getting a contract is mad. Wardy has to be, wasn't really completely shocking with shouts of his Hibs apparently. Oh, I can't speak tonight. It's been a while, guys. Of Hibs apparently, which gets him back in Scotland. Yeah, I think Jason Kerr look, it's interesting to not even see him be offered a deal. Maybe they've had that conversation, as Caldwell said he was going to have conversations on Monday. Maybe they've had that conversation and Kerr's just gone, look, top flight Scottish football can go home. It's kind of what I prefer to do, and maybe that's why they've not bothered to offer him a deal. But any other shocks, guys? What are we thinking? Chris Z, I'm going to get to Z later on. I think he's harshly done by our fan base. I've got to be honest. I think he's harshly done by. Obviously, he's had off the field problems. We don't really know what those are, and I wouldn't really want to speculate over that, to be honest. But he's had off the field problems, which kept him out of the squad at moments. He's had sort of multiple managers come in, not really been given a run of games. You could argue he shouldn't have been given a run of games because the strikers that we've had in that time, Josh Stones was more physically adept. Josh McGuinness was a more senior player. Charlie Kellman was a more senior player. The three players this year, Sadie, Costello, Taylor, are more senior players. So you can understand. But we're going to get to Chrissy later in this episode because I think he is quite a big talking point regarding this retain list. But should we just jump straight into it? Should we get going? So I'm going to put myself down here. I'm going to whack this up here. Retain list. Right. Here is a retain list in its entirety. Now, again, there's some shocks in here. Some, not so much. So, players under contract. It's not a lot, is it? Considering there's 3 goalkeepers as well and quite a few academy players. It's not a lot. There's a big rebuild to come on. Sam Tickle, no-brainer. Obviously, you're not going to release Sam Tickle, are you? I'd be interested to see what you lot think as to whether you would cash in on Tickle, whether you think that he'll go. So leave those in the comments if you think he'll go and if you would cash in on Sam Tickle. Tom Watson, I think, will be the backup goalkeeper this year. We've seen Gary Caldwell at times not even name a goalkeeper on his bench, so I can't see him going out and signing a goalkeeper to back up Sam Tickle. I think Tom Watson will come in as that number 2. Same with Matteo Spinelli. I think he'll flirt between the under-21s and being the third choice goalkeeper for the first team. James Carragher, no-brainer, has been one of our better players over the last probably 2 years, especially in that defence. Slightly injury prone, so I think we are going to need to recruit in that area, definitely. If only we'd have signed a certain Ben Ward in January. Didn't need him though, did we? But yeah, I think we'll need to recruit in that area, but we'll get to that as we go along. Also, I am going to throw in at the end of this episode some reaction to maybe other retain lists or a couple of names. I'm not going to give you a lot of names because we'll save that for over the summer, probably, if I do come back to do that sort of summer series of transfers that I would like. But I'll give you a few names at the end of this that I'm keeping an eye on for either a club's retain list or players that I think could fill big gaps in this team. People like Jason Kerr replacements. We'll get to that at the end. Ben, happy Mellish will be given a chance in pre-season. Good squad player. I agree. We'll get to Mellish in a bit, though. Anyway, James Carragher. John Mellish. Should we cover Mellish now? Yeah, go on. We'll cover Mellish now while Ben said it. So, John Mellish. Some people won't like that. I'm in between, to be honest. I haven't eye on John Mellish at MK Dons because I just sort of took it for granted that he'd probably be sold anyway. But obviously, he's going to be given a chance in pre-season. Whether that's... I mean, no, because he's not been transfer listed. I was going to say maybe it's because we'll just cash in on him, but he's not been transfer listed, to be fair, the same way that a Ronan Darcy has. So he is going to be given a chance in pre-season. I think that'll be because of his running power. I think as a player that can fill in at left centre half, a player that can fill in midfield, a player that, okay, maybe he's not got the technical cross that would be desired, but as like a third choice, if needs must, left wing back, if we have a bit of an injury crisis, I think as a third or fourth choice left wing back, he can fill in there. He's proven that he's goal threat at Carlisle in League 2 a couple of years ago. So again, if he really needs to fill in one of those 10 slots, I suppose he can do that. I think he's a good utility man, to be honest. I think he can fill in the back line, he can fill in the midfield, he can just about probably fill in one of them 10s, but it would be a more functional 10. He'd probably play as sort of a third centre midfielder. But Gary Caldwell's spoken about his system will be fluid next year, and formations aren't that big of a thing to him, and it's more about profiles in certain positions and being able to change in a game. And I think John Mellish would be a good player for that, to sort of have on the bench if we have a few injuries, and he can fill in a lot of gaps. Wardy's not 100% on Mellish. I'm not either. I wouldn't want him starting games, if I'm honest, unless he comes back a different man to the one that he left. Rigo, Evening Oliver missed much. Breaking down the broad. I've only just pulled up the retain list. We're only on Mellish chat. So we've not really covered much, mate. Don't worry, you've not missed. But we will be getting to all the intro. So you've jumped in at the right time. But John Mellish, just going back to him really quick, good utility man, can fill in a lot of gaps. I think that's why he'll probably be kept around. I wouldn't be surprised to see him kept around. I think it comes down to if we get a good offer for him, and if we are given the finances to get a utility man with a bit more technical ability, he'll probably move him on and replace him with a more technical utility man. If not, I think he'll keep John Mellish around, and I'm okay with that. Morgan Fox, only just really come in. He's been here a year. Solid enough left-sided centre-half, senior pro, experienced, game left wing-back. I think those days are beyond him. But as a left-sided centre-half, I'd bring in a player. It's interesting, really, because they said the reason they passed up on Ben Ward is because they didn't know if he'd go in and start over Morgan Fox, because they would want him as a long-term successor rather than a direct competitor for him at that moment. For me, I think we should sign a starter ahead of Morgan Fox on that left-hand side of a back three and have Morgan Fox be a senior pro that can step in when needs be. But I'm happy to see him retained. Kamani Miller, brilliant. I am, and this will be interesting to see how everybody sits on this. What are our thoughts on Kamani Miller? He's a bright spark out of the academy. I'm 50-50 at the minute as to whether I would sign a backup to Fraser Murray, because I think Kamani Miller could fill that gap, to be honest with you. And in a world where we've been told that the squad size is going to be trimmed, the budgets aren't going to be probably as high as we'd want them to be because the owners are looking to leave, I think Kamani Miller could step in and be a really good backup left wing back. Also, we'll get to some targets on the right-hand side in a bit, but you can sign a player like a Rafael Rodriguez-Borges who could play both sides. So you'd then have Fraser Murray, Kamani Miller as left wing backs, and someone else who can play on the right but can also play on that left. So I'm happy to see Kamani Miller stay. Kai Payne, injuries have sort of stunted his development. When he first came into that team, he looked unbelievable. But injuries have stumped him. He's been sent out on a couple of loans that haven't really worked. The first Oldham loan, if I remember right, really worked for him. The second one, injuries stumped him. But if he can get back to full fitness and we can see that young lad that was coming through, he's the closest thing that we've got to a profile of Matt Smith. And that really excites me about Kai Payne, especially with Matt Smith currently potentially leaving, which we'll get to in a while. But if Matt Smith stays and Kai Payne can sort of be his understudy, brilliant sort of deep line playmaker, a couple of players that we've got there. I don't think we'd need to go out and get a third because I'm happy enough with Kai Payne being the understudy as long as you bring in a couple of other midfielders. But I think for that profile of that sitting midfielder who can get on it, turn and play it, I'm happy enough for Kai Payne to be that understudy. So it's great to see him retained. Tobias Brennan, similarly to Payne, but in the opposite sense, having an understudy like Tobias Brennan, especially with that Harrogate loan seemingly going well for him, having him be an understudy to the likes of Jensen Weir, and I would like to see maybe another body or two bring in the midfield, but having Tobias Brennan as that energetic midfielder, very Caldwell-esque. I think Caldwell will like Brennan a lot. I think his technical ability is decent. His size is good. He's a big lad for his age. And yeah, in the early stages of what we saw of him, especially in pre-season and the early stages of this season before he was sent out on that loan to Harrogate, when he stretches his legs and gets going, he's a good ball carrier. He's a good ball winner. And I like him a lot, to be honest. I like him a lot. I think this is on Kamani Miller from Rigo here. Not seen much of him because he went on loan. It'd be nice to see another academy lad in the first team. Yeah, and I think that's what we're seeing here is a lot of these academy lads. Okay, maybe one or two on loan. Maybe Kai Payne to recoup his fitness could be sent out on loan. I can't see Brennan being sent out and I can't see Kamani Miller being sent out. I think they could really step into the first team this year Kai Payne, I think it depends how he comes back from fitness. Ben Horn saying he really likes Brennan. Yeah, I agree. I really like Tobias Brennan, so it's great to see him stick around. Fraser Murray, no brainer, really. Starting left wing back next year. Can play on that right hand side if you need him to. Just great player. One of the top chance creators in the league, I think, overall. Dara Costello and Christian Sadie, look, they were never going to be released. They were never going to be transfer listed, really. Sadie, I've got a bit more time. I don't know, really. I've got time for them both in different ways. Costello runs his arse off, right? Now, look, his goal return isn't good enough. And neither is Christian Sadie's, especially for a centre forward. The goal returns aren't good enough. They need to improve next season. Chance creation also needs to improve next season. But Costello runs like there's no tomorrow. So if he started scoring goals, he'd be unreal, which I know is a big if. I know it's a big if because it's his whole job at the end of the day, innit? But he presses like a maniac. Corbell talks a lot about starters and finishers. Look, if you get a couple of goals ahead and you are in the 70th minute and say your right side of 10, your second striker is blowing, the one that you've started is absolutely blowing, but he's got you a goal. Bringing on Costello just to run people into the ground, get at back lines and put them under pressure and not allow an opposition to get on top of us in a game. Say we go away to Huddersfield next year, right? And we are 2-0 up with 25 minutes to go. And our front line can't really press anymore because they're all blowing and they've worked hard to get us 2 goals ahead. And you bring on Dara Costello just to run at people and hound them and not let them swamp us into our own box. I like him for that job, but he is a striker, so he's got to start scoring goals. I agree with Rigo here. I think when he plays as that right side of 10, he is better off because, again, he provides that energy that we need in those last sort of 25 games. Corbell talks about starters and finishers. I think he'd be a great finisher in that 10 spot. Who also, I mean, if you're bringing him on with 25 minutes left to hound a back line, if that back line's been run ragged all game by a better player in that 10, those gaps will open up for Costello to maybe get more goal returns. You never know. Christian Sadie, I think it's important, and I've always said this, even when we had Josh McGuinness, because he was relatively useless in front of goal as well. Christian Sadie, I think it is important to have a big man. Look, this is League One. This is not the Premier League. You can't have 3 5'7" strikers like Joe Taylor and not have a big man, in my opinion. I think you need one. For, again, late in the game, if you need to hit him, he can hold it up better than anyone I've seen in a long time for this Wigan team. And he can hold it in the corner for about 10 minutes on his own. So I think it's important that you have a big man. He needs to start getting a better goal return, though, similar to Costello, but he has attributes that I do like. Okay, that concludes our under contract section. Rather short, but, you know, some important players in there. Some interesting players, like we said. I find John Mellish, Kai Payne, Kamani Miller, and Tobias Brennan the most interesting there for me. New contracts. Okay, so the following players have been offered contracts. Matt Smith. Okay, Smith, that is good. I'll be honest, I was dreading just seeing him on the released list because he said that he wants to go back to London or something and play for like a team that are going to be on top of games. But he's been offered a contract, which is good. The defensive side of his game this year has improved tenfold, which I'm happy with. I'm not happy that he's not on the under contract list, obviously. That's gutting. But what can you do? We can pray that he signs a new deal. Matt, if you watch him, please. But I think if he gets put next to an energetic midfielder, because his legs aren't as good. I don't think they're bad. A lot of people sort of slate his defensive work a little bit and his legs. I don't think they're as bad as people make out, but he needs someone next to him, like Jensen Weir, who is next on this list, who have a lot of legs to get about the pitch. By the way, as I'm going along here, feel free to chuck your opinions on these players in the comments. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, let me know. But Jensen Weir, I'm happy that we've offered him a new deal. Has come under fire a little bit this year in moments, but then also much better than he. Jensen has so much energy, so much drive, and to me, he lacks technical ability compared to the likes of, say, a Ryan Trevitt, but he stays fit, which is crucial. Look, if I could give Jensen Weir Ryan Trevitt's technical ability on the ball, I would. But I can't do that, for one. And for two, he stays fit and he runs ragged. Need in this Gary Caldwell team. You look at the midfielders that have played for that team. Ryan Trevitt himself, when he is fit, runs ragged. You look at the likes of Ethan Brealey, Reece Cole. They all run like madmen in that midfield. And if you're going to sacrifice a little bit of that technical ability, which I understand, you need it in abundance with the second man, and Jensen Weir brings that. Need to do everything we can to keep Weir and Smith good base to build our midfield from. 100% Rigo. All I'll say on Jensen is I don't want to see him with the captain's armband again. No, probably not. But again, we'll get to that. We'll get to the captain debate as we reach the latter stages of, well, not the latter stages, the midpoint of this. As you can see, that man on the top of the release list. We'll cover that issue when it comes. But yeah, Jensen Weir, buzzing to keep him about. Reece Cole's extended his extra contract though. Thought we might have signed him otherwise. We'll get to that later, Rigo. If I forget, because your comment could get sort of buried under a few more as we reach the rest of this. Rigo, you've got a job. I'm giving you a job, Rigo. You've got one job. When I reach Joe Taylor at the end of this list, remind me. Just say Reece Cole. Remind me. Anyway, moving on. Callum McManaman. Interesting one. Really interesting one. I'm happy with it. From a dressing room standpoint, I think he drives standards quite well. You can see when he comes on that he just wants to like hit people, right? But you know, is he going to offer much on the pitch? No, but I'm still happy with it. Look, I don't want to say we're better to Mackie yet. None of us do. There's been people on Twitter that I don't really understand. I've got to be honest, and I'm sorry if you're one of these people, but I don't get you. They're gutted about Macca leaving, and then he gets a new contract, and he's going to be on tuppence, right? He's not going to be on much a week, so I doubt he's taken away from our budget that much. And he signs a new deal, or he's in talks for a new deal, and people go, "Oh, come on." He's like, look, he's not going to play every game, and he hasn't played every game now for 2 years. He's not going to affect us on the pitch. So just be happy that he's still about and that he'll play those 5 games a season. And man putting across. So deal with it. Harrison Batoni. Rumours came out the other day that he'd rejected a 3-year deal. Paul Kendrick squashed those. So hopefully that's true. He was really hot on the scene when he first came into the team. I said not famously, but I said controversially, there's the word, in one of the last few pods that I didn't want to see him play a single minute between then and the end of the season, and he didn't really. And that was just because I thought we needed to put the onus on the senior professionals to get us out of that relegation fight, and they did. Doesn't look great in the 10, in my opinion, just because he's such a big unit that getting on it and turning, like he's got technical ability, but getting on it and turning and driving, I don't think it's his strong suit. I think he's better being played in behind, running onto things and finishing. I think we saw that at Wimbledon when he made his debut. I think we've seen it at various points this season, like Preston. So I'm unsure where he fits into this team. I think he's going to have to be a rotating striker, maybe a 10 every now and then, but he needs to be sort of a second striker style of 10, not the Callum Wright style of 10. So it'll be interesting to see what Batoni does next season. He stays, which, will be interesting. He looked good against Stevenage as a 10. Yeah, I don't know. He just seems hit and miss for me, which, look, he's going to be hit and miss. He's, 18, 19? Of course he's going to be hit and miss. He's a young player. But he's one of them where I think we need to chill out on him a little bit. I don't think he's a Gellart. I don't think he's a Kyle Joseph where he'll come into the team and bang straight away, be consistent on that level. I don't think he's a Hello Asgard yet. I think we need to just slow down a little bit. Put it this way, there's certain youngsters that come through and you don't want to sign someone in their position because you don't want to get in their way. I don't feel that way about Batoni. I feel like we would need a senior pro ahead of him. There's certain players that you go, no, don't put someone in his way. I think you need someone in his way, and I don't think Dara Costello and Christian Sadie are enough to be in his way. I think we need a senior pro at that level, consistent, and Batoni can get the jump minutes for next season if he stays. Batoni and Chapman both watch the under-18. I feel confident both extend their contracts here. Oh, that's good. Cheers, Charlie. Cheers for that, mate. That's good. Chapman, we'll get on to now because he's next in the list. Perfect. This is moving great. Chapman, I think he'll stay 100%. Look, Batoni's up in the air. I'm confident he'll stay as well, mate. But Chapman, for me, definitely stays. Came in sort of... Did he come in the back end of Ryan Lowe and the start of Caldwell when we had a bit of an injury crisis at the back? Looked really assured, to be honest. I think Stockport away, he looked assured when we got that red card. Blackpool away, he looked solid up until he got injured and came off. I really like Leighton Chapman, especially as a young lad who has been a right back and has had to step. Look, I don't doubt he's played centre back before, but he's had to step into a senior back three. And for a lad that's only quite slight in stature, I like him a lot. I think he's grit and he's sort of what he maybe lacks in physical mass, he makes and sort of desire to go and snap in and win the ball. And I really like that about him. Was Stockport away his first game? I believe it was, yeah. Because I think we had a few injuries and then we got the red card and we sort of just threw on an extra defender rather than not playing with defenders. But yeah, what he lacks in physical stature, and look, I don't doubt there'll come a point where maybe he gets physically bullied, but he won't back down because of it, which I really like about him. He's always going to just bang hit every time, and I really like it. Similar to Tobias Brennan, really, but in the midfield, obviously. I like his grit. I like his determination to go and win that front-footed defender, which I really like about him. Leo Graham, really good loan spell at Bury. Obviously, quite low down the pyramid compared to sort of the Kai Payne loan, the Tobias Brennan loan. So he's not been tested at that level yet. But he looked good in the preseason alongside Tobias Brennan. And I like him a lot. I think he's got technical ability. We brought him back from that loan, didn't we? It looked as though he was going to maybe play some of the last games of the season. He didn't do that. But in that Callum Wright role, I think that's his role moving forward, I would imagine. And look, he's another one of them, like a Harrison Batoni, probably more so than a Batoni, to be honest, where you'd want people ahead of him in that sort of pecking order. But for games like the Carabao Cup group stages, not the Carabao Cup, sorry, the Virtue Trophy group stages, and Carabao Cup games, to be fair, in the early rounds, you'd want him in those teams. You'd want him in around those teams. So I like Leo Graham. Maybe he needs a loan move to sort of a League Two, like we tried to do with Joe Adams, which we'll get onto in a moment. But yeah, I would like to see Leo Graham maybe get on a loan move to sort of League Two. Got to go, sorry, someone reminded me about Reece Cole. Yeah, someone mentioned, I'm sure I won't forget because I've got quite a lot to say about Exeter at the end of this because they have released their retain list today as well. But I won't forget Reece Cole. I promise, Rigo. And you can come back after, mate, and watch this video. Wouldn't mind Leo going on a League Two loan for 6 months, maybe Fleetwood Town. What about it? Out of interest, Charlie, because I know you, Charlie. You're clued up. What about Fleetwood? Why Fleetwood in particular? I know they've got sort of a track record of developing young players, people like Phoenix Patterson. Obviously, Melise Asamoah came through there. But is it a system thing, or is it just sort of they tend to nurture young players quite well? Anyway, Chris Z. Okay, now, controversial. I like Chris Z. I said it, I like him. And you're not going to change my opinion. The Southport loan was good. Do I take that much into account? Not really. But where he's lacked in physicality in his games, he has sort of developed that, you would imagine, at Southport, playing in the senior game. I don't know if he's been playing as a striker or a 10, but he's going to play as that second 10 here. He's not going to play down the middle up front, I would imagine. Chris Z, in this crop of players, is the best finisher in the club. He is. He is the best finisher in the club. Now, as that second striker, answer me this, honestly, in the comments, please. I want as many people in the comments to answer this question for me. As that second striker where Costello has been playing, off of a centre-forward like Joe Taylor, making darting runs across, being picked out by, say, a Callum Wright, would you rather latch onto the end of a through ball, Dara Costello, or Chris Z? Answer that honestly. And while you do that, we'll get to why Charlie likes Leo Graham going to Fleetwood. Local scrappy side, but with decent attacking options. Matt Lawler's a very good coach. I think that would translate into working under Caldwell a bit after 6 months. Maybe. Okay. Okay. I know some of you are saying neither, but just come on. Play ball for a minute. Play ball for a minute. My point is, if one-on-one with a goalkeeper, I trust Chris Z. And I know we've not seen it. But I've seen it at academy level, and I've seen it, albeit at a low level in the men's game. But he's a good finisher. He is a good finisher, and I trust him coming to feet more than I trust Dara Costello. I think he's got technical ability to knit passes together in pockets, and if he gets in behind, I trust him to finish it. Get Dara doing the pressing and chasing, have a centre forward pushing the centre backs away, and we have Z following into the space to be a bit of a poacher. I trusted Dara until I watched him attempt to play football. But I don't know. I don't mind Z. And again, like Bertoni, like Leo Graham, senior pros ahead of him. But I would like to see him either tested at League 2 level or in the Virtue Trophy group stages and the cup games. I would like to see it. Another man that might stand in his way. Not for me. Needs to sort of sign a proper 9 this summer and take up Jason Kerr type wage. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I wouldn't play Z as a 9 anyway. I'd play him as that right side of 10. But Sonny Cox at Exeter, which is one of them rotational 10s. He's one of like 5 who can come in and out, starters and finishers again. I don't mind him being in that, especially in the cup games. But another man that might stand in his way, Adam Mosley. Electric record for the academy. So I believe. So it'll be interesting to see how that could translate into the first team. Could it be a League 2 loan again? Maybe. Not seeing much of him. Would imagine it's that second 10 again. Although maybe I'm just sort of shoehorning all of our non-physical strikers into that role. Maybe he can just play down the middle. Jaden Warren wasn't necessarily the most physical profile for Exeter, and that seemed to work. But Adam Mosley, I'll not spend too long on because I don't really know. He's an unknown quantity. Hopefully he signs a new deal because he's had a good record for the academy, so that must count for something. Joe Adams, he'll probably sign a new deal. He's off the back of that injury and he's been offered a deal. He's going to take it, I'd imagine. Probably a League 2 loan. Needs to recuperate after that ACL injury that he picked up at Bradford. But I like him. I like what I've seen of him. Bit more of a running with the ball than a passer. But I'd imagine he'll take that left 10 sort of role, being that third midfielder rather than the second striker. But again, probably a League 2 loan because we just don't know. Do we? I really like Joe Adams. So do I. But I feel like I did off the back of that injury, both physically and technically. I think League 2 could be a good place to do that. Into the released list. We're starting off with Wigan. Jason Kerr. Surprised to see him not even offered a new deal. Wouldn't be surprised if he just said that he wants to go back to Scotland. Cheers for everything, Jason. 150 games, captain, won a league. He's given us a lot in 5 years. Won't complain if he does just go back to Scotland. I'd rather not see him sign for another League 1 team, sorry. Adams is through from his injury now. I believe he's cutting his summer short to get back into the gym and start strength training more. Wants to have an impact in pre-season to impress. Look, if Joe Adams can come back and impress Caldwell that much that he's sort of given a slot in the sort of 23-man squad. I know we said we're cutting the squad, but I would imagine when they say that, they mean senior pros. Joe Adams and that, I can't see counting in that number so much anyway. But if you can impress him to be in that main 18 to 20, fair play to him. But I wouldn't mind to see him go out on loan either. Great servant will be missed daily, 100%. Look, I think Jason Kerr arguably goes under the radar. I think one thing for me that we need to make sure that we replace well is having a technical centre half. Look, he's not the best passer out from the back, but what he is technical in a way that we see some centre-backs in this league just nail balls as soon as it's like in the air. They don't want to bother with it. Jason Kerr will just touch it down and just be like, yep, now we'll play. And I think that's difficult to find in a centre-half in these leagues. We'll get into that a little bit later. But I like him. I like him a lot. I've liked him a lot. But he's gone. And he must be replaced. Williamson. Show hands in the comments. Who's upset about Aimson leaving? Who's upset? We'll read out this from Charlie while I wait. I'm not expecting another Charlie Hughes star defender, but somebody calm, composed. Bang on. Someone like a Liam Morrison, calm on the ball. They don't need to have that 40-yard crossfield ping in them. The touchdown and play rather than just hoof. Not upset, but surprised he's leaving. I'm slightly surprised that Aimson has been released. Obviously, Cole had him, and he's sort of, Wardy don't care, but surprised. I think that's probably the sentiment of the majority. I would echo it. Body on the line every week, but won't miss his own goals. Yeah, I think a lot of this is valid. For me, look, Will, cheers for Bolton away. Cheers for some big moments, to be fair. The goal at Northampton springs to mind. Cheers for being a good servant to this club in your first season. In your second season, he's Bambi on ice. He's Bambi on ice. That header at Doncaster while he's on the floor, just to perfectly cushion it into the... And look, he didn't mean to do it. But God, the drop-off in Will Aimson this year was massive. It was massive. Let's not kid ourselves. There was a period towards the end of Ryan Lowe. And he looked better when Caldwell came in, to be fair. But there was a period towards the end of Lowe where... And all of them looked bad. But whoa, he looked bad. Wow, he looked really bad. Clips it down the line aimlessly a lot for me. Not composed enough on the ball. And I think that's why he's been released. Aimson can probably still do it at League One, like Burton style side. If he goes to League Two, I think he'll do well. Won't be going any up to high League One. This is the thing, right, Charlie? A lot of these players on the released list, for me, I look at, and on the selling list as well, you look at them and you go, where are you going to move from? Are you going to move up? Are you going to move sideways? Are you going to move down? And Williamson is going to move down. Hopefully. In a sense. Not hopefully. Hopefully for him, he has a great rest of his career. But, I mean, you would like to think if he goes to Burton, he's moved down. Because we'll probably finish above Burton next year, you would hope, is the intention. People like Kerr will probably move up. And they'll probably go to a good SPFL side, something like that. But, yeah, this is true. Tilt is still kicking about at the top end of this league, so Aimson probably can't. Yeah, this is true. He could go and play for like I don't know, one of them top sides that play terrible football. You know what I mean? And just head balls, probably. But he just, for me, at points this year, he's been so disappointing. And that's probably why he's been released. Toby Savin, again, cutting the squad. Tom Watson, I imagine, will make that number 2 spot. Sometimes he doesn't even have a goalkeeper on the bench. So there's no point in Toby Savin being around. Stevenage, yeah, perfect. He could go and be a Charlie Good. You know what I mean? We'll not waste more time on Savin. Backup goalkeepers are boring. Luke Robinson, again, another one that I'm slightly disappointed, but there's not really a place in the squad. He's not a wing back. I don't think he's a left-sided centre-half either. Great servant to the club. I think he will have a good career. I think he'll have a good League One career. Really, really solid defensive left-back. Whoever picks him up, I think, is getting a good player. Look, is he the best going forward? No. But if you sort of play if you play a lopsided defence where your left back stays back a little bit and your right back is that wing back, I think he's a great left back to have in that system. Robinson might go back up to Scotland with St Johnstone. Loved his time there. League Two and just win a league. You know what I mean? Because I think he's capable of that. I think he's capable of going to League Two and being a good defensive left back and getting a promotion. And then I think he can sort of make his way into like a good League One team. I really like Luke Robinson. It just doesn't suit this system, and so he's going to have to be moved on, and he has been moved on. But I really do like him. I think he could easily play for a team like a Stockport. Maybe if they played a slightly different, you know what I mean, like a team in and around the playoffs. I think he is that good, just not in this system. Steven Sessegnon has been on the transfer list for a year and he couldn't get a move. I think that says a lot about his situation. I don't know where he goes. I don't really care. Can play left back, right back, midfield. Go to League Two, mate, and just pop balls about in the midfield in the technical side would be my suggestion to you, but I don't particularly care what you do. Tyrese Francois, again, is probably going to go to a League Two side or somewhere else abroad. Don't particularly care. He's not played all year. Does he have energy? Yeah. Does he have technical ability? A little bit. Is he fit? God, no. Sessegnon was on about 5k a week, if I'm not wrong. Fucking good riddance then, to be honest. No wonder we couldn't shift him. Matthew Corrin. Good luck in your career, mate. Third choice goalkeeper. I'm not going to spend any more time on it, but good luck. Really tall. Probably he'll go well at like a National League side or something. Good luck, Matty. Jack Hunt. What a waste of time that was. Available for transfer. Okay. Here's where we get interesting. Joseph Hungbo. That's his decision, isn't it? I don't think that's Gary's decision. I've got to be honest. Unless he thinks he can recoup a third for him and he doesn't. Talk with me here. Retired by Martinelli, Jack Hunt. Yeah. Yeah. But then he's 35 and Martinelli's one of the quickest wingers in the country. Talk to me about Joe Hungbo. Do we think it's his decision or do we think it's Gary's? My initial thought was it's his decision because he's been coming off the bench and he's seen as a finisher in a Caldwell team, not a starter. And he wants to go and start games, which could be part of the conversation. But then at the same time, from Gary's point of view, look, there's value in Joe Hungbo. You could sell him for a little bit of money. You could probably recoup what we spent on him. He's a decent player. Gary probably might think, look, if we can get 300 or 400 grand for Joseph Hungbo, he's a finisher in a game. We can go and redistribute that money well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Gary. Ben saying winger, not a wing, got a great cross. I think it's mutual. Wardy's saying it's his. He didn't start under Caldwell. Charlie's saying Joe loves it here, but also wants to play regularly. Maybe a mutual agreement just to put him in the shop window and assess options. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he stays and plays a lot more. Bit of both. Gary never put him at wing back like Lowe did. He only ever got subbed into the 10 positions where he doesn't suit. Yeah, some good chats here. Keep them coming. I think it could be mutual. I think we're right in saying it could be mutual. I think it's going to be a combination here of I want to play more games and Gary going, I can't give you that guarantee and you've got value. So we'll take the money and we'll redistribute it into starters, which I'm fine with. Barbara Deco, heartbreak. Again, touched on it earlier. I've seen him put in really, really good performances as a defensive midfielder, especially off the ball. On the ball, slightly limited. I'd like to see him go to League Two and be a bit of a destroyer midfielder with like a technician next to him. If you put a Deco in it, it's like an Ollie Norwood, I think he'd be fine. Like we've seen him play with Matt Smith and been fine. The problem is you just need a bit more technical ability to get into the playoffs in League One and that sort of area, don't you? And he doesn't have it. Could he go and do it in League Two? Probably. Go and join. I don't know, actually. Not got a team in mind. But go and join a League Two team who've got a really good technical midfield. You know what I mean? Bab's good against strong opposition. Reckon we might miss him, but then again, Ain't seen him play this year. Yeah, injuries have sort of killed him this year, haven't they? Surprised with Baba more because I thought Gregor loves him. Not started. Can be a useful squad player. Baba's a bit gutting. That performance at the second Bolton 4-0. Yeah, we were saying this earlier, weren't we? The performances at Bolton with the 4-0s. But look, I wish him the best of luck because he's one of my favourite players that have come out of the academy in the last few years. So I wish him absolutely the best of luck. Maybe drop down to move again. There we go. Yeah, just saying, Johnny Smith, I've never really seen it. Thoughts on the Johnny Smith thing? Baba's box-to-box work is what lets him down. In a system that demands that playing alongside Matt Smith, so many top performances from Baba. Would be good to see him go a solid defensive mid. Yeah, 100%. I'd echo that. He's just not got the box-to-box sort of ability, does he? Which you need. It's where Jensen Weir sort of pips him, isn't it? That technical ability. But yeah, Johnny Smith, I've never really seen it. He's not going to be a wing back. He's not going to be a 10. Cash in. Has he done anything at Gillingham to sort of give us any value? I don't think he has. So it's sort of money down the drain there a little bit. But I'm sure we'll get something of note, maybe. I've never really seen it with Johnny Smith, to be honest. So ta-ta. Cheers for some really good goals, though. Ronan Darcy, available for transfer. Yeah. What a disaster of replacing Tello Asgard that was. Go back to Crawley, I guess, and do something, I guess, maybe. I don't really mind. To be sure, it's pure profit for Baba. Yeah, I suppose. Always turn up in big games, struggled home games where we had more of the ball. 100%. John Smith overrated because he scored a few nice goals. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Darcy, what a disappointment. Teller replacement. But this is what I mean. Okay, so yeah. Look, we tried to replace Tello in a January transfer window. In fairness, slightly difficult, very difficult. But you know what I mean. At the time Darcy came in, his chance creation and assist numbers were better than Asgard. He was a focal point at Crawley. Performances dropped off a cliff though, and he's not good enough. Not found it again. I just don't think he's good enough. Is the truth. I just don't think he's good enough. But again, go to League Two and try and find your feet again. Melise Asamoah, the lesser, the better, absolute road runner. Got the end product of me. But what can you do? You know? Also, massive attitude problem. So, ta-ta. Yeah, someone like Tranmere. Yeah, his pace will earn him a semi-decent move, probably. You know. Is there any real links with this Niskanen, or is it all rumors purely because of Corp? We'll get into this later. Remind me, Casey. I don't know anything. Just to say that out there now. I don't know anything, but we better be in for him. Asgard was our only source of goals at the time. We needed goals, not creativity. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably fair. Give me 2 seconds, boys. I need to grab a charger. I'll be back. There we go. And we're back. We are on charge. We're not going to die. Okay. Where were we up to? Melise Asamoah, League 2. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Loans expired. Look, we'll cut the fat. Owen Moxon's not going to come back, although he's decent at times. Ryan Trevitt, not going to come back, I'd imagine. Caldwell has previous with him, but a few years now. He's had a patchy injury record. I can't see him coming back. Caelan Vickers. You know what I mean? What was the point in that? Raphael, I'd be interested to get your opinions on. End product for probably do it, but I don't think we can do that. But I'd be interested to see what you lot think. Joe Taylor, not going to come back. Ta-ta. Cheers for your goals. You absolute little dancer. Callum Wright. This is a message to the Wigan Athletic board. If you don't sign Callum Wright on a free transfer, please just leave immediately. It's the biggest tap-in in football history. Football history. It is the biggest tap-in. He is free. He wants to move back north. He spent a year here. He has improved massively under Caldwell. He works in the system. He is one of the better players in the position in this system. Please, he has won player of this. What is it? Player of the season, fans player of the season, and some other award as well. Oh my God, please. It is such a tap-in. Such a tap-in. Please. Just do it. That is such a tap-in. I can't explain how much of a tap-in that is. Just some opinions on Raphael, but we've got Ben saying he'd take him back on another loan. Charlie saying he'd take him back. First proper full season in England and developed well towards the end. Poor decision making, but that can be improved. Yeah, 100%. Proper coaching can improve his decision making. For me, he's the most powerful forward we've had since Yannick Wildschut. Size, pace, he's got it. So yeah, I'd like to see him back, to be honest. Rafa 50-50, good player on his day, but end product, yeah. And product not ideal. But again, that can be coached. Look, Yannick Wildschut's end product was meh at times. And we coached him into being the best left winger in the league. If we don't sign Callum Wright, I'm going to riot. Never seen a player more suited to inside 10 off the left. Yeah, 100%. Because, like, if it's not Callum Wright, I'd be interested to get names as to who it is that are available on freeze. Wright was on... Oh, Charlie's got to ruin it. Wright was on high wages and we weren't paying the full percentage. He wants championship wages, so that would be top end League One moving up a level. Great player, but what our budget may relax. But where do you get those wages is what I want to know. Where'd you get them? There's not going to be many places to give them if certain teams get promoted. Again, thinking of moving back to Northwest, Bradford, play functional football. I don't think he'd be suited there. He's not going to go to Bolton, I wouldn't think. Oh, fucking hope not. Who else is up there? Stockport, again, maybe. God, I'm going to stop talking about this because I'm talking it out of existence and I don't want to. It's such a tap-in. Such a tap-in. Make him the talisman. Make him that left 10 position. Give him the number 10. Who's got the number 10 at the minute? Is it Joe Taylor? I don't know. Stockport maybe, but they've got a lot of attacking. Don't. Just shut up. Just shut up, James. Just no. Less of that. Oh, no, if he goes to Bolton, I'll cry. Anyway. Oh, God. Jesus. My whole body just shuddered. Anyway, that's the retain list. Now, talk to me. Right as a Sarcevic replacement at Bradford would work. That said, if Gregor doesn't make the budget works, are we not done with him already? That's my only point there. Are we not done with him already? Yeah. This is... It has to work. I don't care what you do. I do not care. You have released Kerr, funnily enough. You have lost wages in Joe Taylor that I imagine the percentage we were paying, even that weren't cheap. You have lost the wages on Raphael, who must have been on a decent wedge. You've lost all these wages from loan players. You've lost Joe. You'll lose Joe Hungbo, and you'll recruit money there. Babradiko, Johnny Smith, Ronan Mower, you'll make. You have released Jason Kerr. You have released Williamson. You have lost the wages of Sessegnon. If you can't make this budget work to bring in Callum Wright on you do not deserve to be a scout. You do not deserve to be a football director. You do not deserve any form of footballing job if you cannot make that work. That being said, I don't think they deserve it anyway. Adam Phillips at Barnsley. He's on a free, maybe the only Cal Wright replacement. But what happened to Adam Phillips? Because I was hearing like championship moves last season, and he seems to have fallen off a cliff because now he's been released by Barnsley. Should just hire you, pal. Honestly, the way my summer transfers and January transfer series is on Twitter and on here over the years have been, maybe we should. Because some of the players over the years, Yusuf Salek comes to mind. Who else? There's a few. There's a few that have gone on and done things. I can't remember them all now, to be honest. There's been that many over the years. Charlie Kelman, I said to bring back in, and then he went and got top scorer in the league. He puts up serious numbers that goes unnoticed. Phillips, fair enough. I mean, maybe they just Barnsley are sort of up the creek without a paddle, aren't they? So maybe they just can't afford him anymore. I don't know. The board need to realise if you don't spend money, you don't move forward. We can cut down the squad size, but cutting the wage budget to not allow top quality players would be madness. Agreed, mate. Youngsters who are going to be on barely any money, there is room for Callum Wright. There has to be room for Callum Wright. If there's no room for Callum Wright, who is there room for? There is room for mediocre League 1 and 2 players. If that's the case, you have no ambition. You have absolute. If they don't make a valiant effort, look, if someone goes and offers him silly money, if Stockport go and offer him 8-9 grand a week, fine, right, whatever. You've lost that battle. But if he goes to somewhere for like 4 or 5 grand a week and you don't make that work, you have no ambition. You have absolutely no ambition. Not sure if I'm forgetting someone obvious, but when was the last time that we had a really good loan and actually signed them on a perm? Oh, that's a great point. I don't know. You're probably talking championship days, aren't you? Is the sad reality. Jason Kerr and Williamson out, Emeka Roby and Adam Long in, playoff charges on. Crikey. Jack Sanders, anyone? Or is it Sanderson? The MK Dons one that came out of our academy that wins headers like the bloody free sweets. All of that, Phillips. Remember him at the brick when he came and changed the game. See, he was. I just don't know why they've released him. Maybe it's because they can't afford him. Just feel like there's shouts every season to sign the loans, but never seems to happen. Yeah, 100%. I mean, a lot of them are valid. Like, if you can't go and get Raphael because you can't offer him the game time and Coventry will want him to go and get game time, then you'll probably, you sort of say fair enough. Callum Wright, though, available on a free, available to us, wants to move back north, hasn't earned a championship move, I don't think, but he's a quality League 1 player. If you can't make that work, give up now. You know what I mean? Anyway, we're going to move back to this, Cam. Hello again. We're going to have a bit of a chat now. Yes. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Don't do it again. You know what I mean? Don't do it again. What was it? 200, 300 grand that we could have signed Dale Taylor for, and then it went up to like $1 million. And then he scored and got an assist at the break. Don't do it again. Do not do it again. Don't let Callum Wright slip through our fingers. He has been in the building all year. Look, he's dealt with the absolute mess of Ryan Lowe. That's probably put him off a little bit. But he's gone now, and Cardwell improved him so much as a player. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Oh, you know what I mean? Dale Taylor was sensational. He was available. Don't do it again. Just don't. Anyway, that's enough about Callum Wright because it's sending me into mania. Oh. Anyway. players that we can bring in. I would like to put a PSA out there. Exeter fans, don't know why you'd be watching. Stop watching now. I'm going to pull up the Exeter retain list because this is interesting. This is very interesting. Oh. Exeter City retain list. Okay. Players leaving. Danny Andrew, not bothered. Josh McGuinness, not bothered. Kevin McDonald, don't really care. Jack McMillan, don't really care. Jack Aitchinson, maybe they'll have a look. Good system player, maybe. Ben hits the nail on the head. It's another tapping. Ilmari Niskanen. Please. Just please. Gary Caldwell, get on that phone. Get on that phone right now if you've not been already. I don't doubt he has been. There's rumours that we've made an offer. We should have done. We should have made an offer 7 weeks. Whenever Caldwell stepped into the building, we should have gone, Ilmari Niskanen, you've got 6 months left on your deal. Do you fancy it? Should have been the conversation that was had, or immediately. Charlie says Ethan Ennis from Fleetwood Town would be a good option for right wing back, maybe back up to Niskanen. 3 goals and 7 assists in League 2. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. But Niskanen, let's have a moment for Niskanen. What is it, 13 assists? Come on. In a relegated team. Where have you seen that we've offered? There was a tweet went out earlier. Now look, I don't know who's sort of who's a good source and who's a bad source. I don't particularly pay that much attention to it, but there was a couple of tweets that got floated around earlier saying that we'd made an offer. I don't know if it's true. It should be true. I would imagine it was probably true. Maybe not because that source has said it, but because it just makes sense anyway. It's one of them where I could probably go, we've made an offer for Niskanen, and chances are it's probably true because it makes complete logical sense, right? Not because I know anything, but just because it makes sense. So please, Niskanen would be a perfect signing for this system. Another one, Fitzwater. I believe that's his name. The bloke who plays at centre half for Exeter. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking at Exeter's squad and who has played for them for the majority of the season. Because you don't want to take too many because obviously they've just been relegated. So they're not brilliant players on the whole. But what you do want to do is cherry pick. And if you can cherry pick the players that made that system tick and put them with other players of a higher quality that can make this system tick here at Wigan, then you should do that. People like Niskanen, clearly not a League 2 player, even though he's just been relegated. Fitzwater has the most passes, if I'm correct in saying, in that Exeter team, the most accurate passes for a central centre half. We've just lost Jason Kerr. Fitzwater makes complete sense. If he's your man playing it out from the back all the time at Exeter, it makes sense to go and pick him up, whether that be as a squad player or whether that be as a starter. I'd imagine as a starter. Niskanen looks the most likely incoming at the moment. We'll have other offers, but Caldwell could be a deciding factor. Joint most assists in League 1 this season with Reyes Cleary. 100%, mate. 100%. He would be a sensational signing, and we should absolutely go and do it. Don't think we could afford Worham, but if we could... Well, yeah, if you can afford Worham, then absolutely, but we can't. Unfortunately. The players that I would cherry pick from that system, if we had a blank check, would be Jaden Worham, Ilmari Niskanen, Reece Cole, and Fitzwater. Realistically, you're looking at Niskanen because he's on a free. And then the other two, Exeter are a fan-owned club. They've just dropped down to League 2. They'll take offers that are probably lower than you would imagine. So I'll start with Fitzwater. Again, like I said, most passes, accurate passes in that team, out from the back, central centre half. We've just lost Kerr, 28, 29 years old, I believe. So experienced head. So you would like to think that we could go and do that. Do Exeter have the finances to demand much for Wareham? Think they'd take a reduced fee? It'll probably be more reduced than you'd think, but it will probably be north of 700-800 grand still. Just because if they are going to lose that, so say Fitzwater's worth 350, we could probably get him for about 200 because they've gone down. He's 28, 29. I imagine he's going into the last year of his deal. They're losing Niskanen on a free. They'll want to recoup that money elsewhere, and so they will probably still want a good wedge for Wareham to make up for the money that they'll lose through not selling a Niskanen. So yeah, that's what I would say about Wareham. I don't think we can afford him. But the Niskanens, the Fitzwater for me is a good one that you could go and cherry pick. Reece Cole, I didn't forget. Reece Cole, do it. Good system player, can play as a central midfielder, can play as a 10. 7 goals, I believe, in a struggling side. He's another one of those where you can go and you can plug him into a better system alongside a Callum Wright on the opposite side, and suddenly he's got players of a little bit of a higher quality around him. You bring in Niskanen next to him, so he's used to that sort of side of the pitch. Give him a striker that he can feed that is better than, well, to be fair, you'll struggle to get better than Jaden Wareham, but you know what I mean? Just surround him with a generally higher caliber of squad. And that 7 goals could increase. His assist numbers could increase. He's a good player, Reece Cole. I think if you plugged him into this team, it's someone who knows the system and can educate others within the game, sort of be a bit of Caldwell on the pitch. And I think he'd be a great option to rotate in and out with Jensen Way. It'd be a great option for that right-hand side of 10. I think he'd be a great player. Did he not just sign an extra year? Yes, technically. Not really. They've triggered an extension in his contract. Now, that probably, it'll be in Exeter's favour. There's no way he's decided to stay when they've been relegated. Exeter will have triggered that year, probably knowing, look, we'll trigger the year and we'll sell you. You know what I mean? They'll want a bit of money for him. Opponents assisted 17 goals from our wide areas this season, 5 from our right side, 12 from our left. If Murray can continue to improve defensively and Niskanen comes in, those numbers should drop. 100%. Definitely. Would you take 3 million for Tickle if it gave us greater funds to build a better outfield squad, including players like Wareham? Tickle's amazing, but keepers are more replaceable than others. Let's open this up to everybody. I'll just close out on Reece Cole by saying, go and take him. I would love Reece Cole as a midfield option, as an option for that front three. Sam Tickle, we're going there. What's everyone saying? Would we take 2 or 3 million? Or what price would you take for Tickle? I think it's fair to say it's probably dropped since last year. He's a year older. And I think he's had a worse season this season than last season. Not 2 mil, but 3 mil upwards. So 3 million is Ben's cut-off point. Okay? What about the rest of us? I'll throw it back to you, James. Would you take 2 or 3 million for Tickle? You've worded it in a way that seems yes. 3.5 million for me. I think 3 million's fair. Tickle loves it here. Spoke to him this week and he says this is his home. We can have no need to sell these contracts until 2028. Can't stand in his way if he wants to go, but we can demand the high fee. Yep. Look, he's the best goalkeeper in the league. But if it's fairly obvious that we're not going to invest that much money from the ownership into bettering the rest of the squad, we've just been through it there. What have we got? 9 contracted players, 3 are goalkeepers, a few are academy players. We're going to need to invest in this squad. You can't do it all on freeze. Yes, you can pick up Niskanen. Yes, I'm sure there's other players that are out of contract that you can go and pick up. You could raid Exeter for a few for cut price fees. But you probably, especially when it comes to the forward line, and we need a few, you're going to have to spend a bit of money. Do we need the money? Would be my question. And I would think yes. If we got an offer of 3 million or upwards, and say you offer me Joe Whitworth on loan, suddenly you're in a position where you might be better off taking it, to be honest. He'll have offers 100%. I just don't see anyone that pays him more than 2.5 million for a 24-year-old keeper. But he is really good. He's really good. Mental now, isn't it? 2 million League One ain't enough for as a top striker, nearly 7 figures, upwards of 3. We can do a lot more with. Yeah, look, and I'll put it out there. If we got £3 million for Sam Tickle, I don't think I'd sign Jaden Wareham. I don't think I would, because he's going to cost you around £1 million. You're not. Let's be honest. They're not going to invest the whole £3 million in one window. So you'd have about two-thirds, a half of your budget spent on a striker. Look, do we need a top striker? Yeah, absolutely. Would I do it if I had controlled the club? Probably, yeah. But I don't think they'll do it. I think they'd go to try and bring in a striker or two, and then distribute the rest of that money across the rest of the squad. Because again, 9 contracted players, 3 goalkeepers, quite a few academy players in there. You're gonna have to spend big. Of the top 8 goalkeepers for clean sheets, Tickle faced the most shots of all of them, at least 15. You see, 32% of those 58 were leaky defence in front of him. He has won us so many points. I think he's sacrificed us a few points in moments, but I think he's done. Ultimately, the pros outweigh the cons. It's just, if you could, right, Charlie, question directly to you, mate. £3 million for Sam Tickle, redistribute £1.5 million across the rest of the squad in the summer, and loan in Joe Whitworth. Are you doing that? Say you use the £1.5 million on a centre forward, a couple of midfielders. You bring cost you a lot of money, like. Ben here asking if there's any strikers that I like. Keen on Will Evans, as he was on a free, but again, Mansfield triggered his option. I like Will Evans. I think that's a good shout. I like Will Evans a lot. I think he's been shoved out to the left at points this season. Not his position at all. He's a good 9, good solid, big lad. Can probably be good in and around the penalty box, but he's got a good strike on him as well. I like Will Evans. That's a good shout. I've banged the Samson Tovide drum, or Tavide, however you say it, for a few years now. Forgive me, I'm going to have a quick look on SofaScore for Tavide. Has he done anything this season? Samson Tavide. League 2. 4 goals and 5 assists. So not the best this season from Tavide, but I do like him. Yatta at Notts County. Yatta's a good player. What's he done this year? 15 goals, 3 assists. Contract up at the end of next year, so maybe you could get him on a bit of a cut price fee. Thoughts on Nombe? I wouldn't mind Nombe. I think, senior pro. What's he done this year? 12 goals and an assist, but he's got previous in this league as well. Contracts up at the end of next year again. We'll probably want to leave with that relegation. Tavide heavily linked with Wickham yesterday. There you go. Someone will take a punt on him and probably come out good for it. I'll get back to striker chat in a minute because it's really interesting. £3 million up front. As long as smart add-ons are included, high promotion clause, sell-on fees, he's worth much more than just a straight sale. We'll need another number 1. We could improve elsewhere. Yeah, I'd take that. So yeah, Nombe I wouldn't mind. Yatta I wouldn't mind. Tavide I wouldn't mind that much, but Tavide is a bit of a risk to be your starting number 9 when you've got Costello and Sadie. You want someone that's a bit more of a guarantee, I would say. There's a lad. I'm going to do some research here. There's a lad in forgive me, I can't find him. But the abroad markets was going to be my point. Alessandro Yatta came from abroad. Also want to keep an eye on potentially Celtic loans. Sean Maloney told me recently. He's tried to get into talks that would benefit both sides. Not sure on players, but could be an option. Not really makes sense since he played under Caldwell. Yes, true. Great point. Celtic players, the Kenny loan then, Sean. Cheers for that one. Boston Lowell. Where's he swimming out there? Is he at Stoke? Never mind then. Yeah. But you've seen Celtic loan out a few players and they've done well in the EFL. People like Boston Lowell, people like Johnny Kenny. Can't remember any more, forgive me, but there are a few. But strikers, it's gonna be a difficult one because again, you're gonna have to spend how much are they willing to spend? You just don't know. Matthew Stevens is one that I've liked previously. I don't know how well he did for Wimbledon, this year. Liam Shaw was another, yeah. Nathan Lowe, again, it's a bit of a risk. He seemed a sure thing at Walsall, but I don't know. I'm scared. You know what I mean? I'm scared. I feel like I need a guarantee of goals because I can't do this again. I can't do it anymore just watching strikers that don't score. Injury-prone Stevens, but I do like him. Yeah, reminds me a little bit of Will Evans. Sort of big stature. One that I like as well and have liked for years. Don't know if he was brought into the fold a little bit more this year. If he wasn't, then I would love a loan deal for Macaulay Langstaff. Said it for about 3 windows now when he wasn't being used by Millwall, especially if they get promoted. Oh my God, if Millwall get promoted, apologies, the Wi-Fi is rocky at best tonight. But if you want to guarantee goals, would you go for McGoldrick? Yeah. Will he take it? Maybe not. I don't know. I feel like he needs more runners around him. He'd want to come to feet that bit more. And if you're going to bring in Callum Wright on that left-hand side, maybe not. I don't know. Jay's Cabia at Grimsby. Let's have a look. There's a lad at Grimsby as well that wouldn't mind at right wing back, the Icelandic bloke. $18 goals and an assist. Who's this Jay's Cabia bloke? Hello. Contract runs out at the end of next year, 25 years old. Looks like a teenager. Fair enough. Hadn't know who that was, to be honest. There's a few that I like. And look, when the time comes, I don't doubt I'll dip into the Swedish league, the Australian league, and I'll take a look there. We were linked to Cassini Yengi when he was at Portsmouth in League One. So it's just proof that they can come from abroad and score goals. You've got to do it right, and you've got to get the striker right this year. But Fitzwater for me, Niskanen for me, Reece Cole for me, Pillage Exeter for those 3 would be lovely. Beyond that, you're looking at a striker, maybe 2, maybe another right-sided forward. You're looking at Callum Wright. You're looking at midfielders, people like John Russell, who I believe has been released by Barnsley. I would love John Russell, 6'4", done decent at Mansfield this year. Got decent legs. Would partner Weir or Matt Smith quite nicely. But yeah. Roman Burrell struggled for loads of games at QPR, was great for Burton. Is he struggled for loads of games? I swear Burrell at one point was doing like really well for QPR. I feel like he'd probably command a better move than us, I've got to be honest. Roman Burrell. 13 goals and assists this year. Forget that in the Championship. You're not going to get Burrell. Sorry to piss on that parade. But no, moving into other positions, outside of strikers, who would 22 starts and he's got that goal return, though, you'd like to think he'd get another champ move. Or League One. Someone like a Lincoln. Any other positions you want me to go through quickly before we wrap it up here? 15 of you still watching, by the way. Thank you so much. It's quite a long one. So thank you for sticking around. But other positions, like I said, John Russell will be a player that I look at. Fitzwater for me is the main mon. A lot of centre halves. Yeah, I mean, I looked at Omar Sawunmi because only this year, and then I saw that he makes an average of 12 passes per game, and I thought, absolutely not. 6'6" unit, but can't play it out from the back. Jack Sanders, similar. Can't play it out from the back. Thoughts on Tyree Shade, everyone? Thoughts on Tyree Shade? Could play up front, could play on one of the side positions. Number 1 from 21's player I like is Remy Rees-Dottin. Because slotting it can right position, but also drifts wide and is a good ball dribbler. Energetic player. Jasper Moon being released from Burton. What I'd maybe look at. Is that because he's got a scream card on FIFA? Be honest. Be honest. Is that because he's got a high rated FIFA card? What is it about Jasper Moon? Come on. If you can't get right, I'd know. Oh, well, maybe. Again, maybe. Aitchison is one from Exeter as well that I'm like, 4 assists and a goal. Not a great return, but good system player. Very good system player. Good. No, seriously, good defender at this level. We play back 3. So we need 6 centre backs. Do we need 6? Do we need 6? Can I just say, do we need 6? Do we need 6? Morgan Fox, a starter ahead of him. James Carragher. I suppose you're kind of right. No, I don't know. James Carragher on the right-hand side of a 3. A signing on the left-hand side with Fox as backup. A starting central centre-half. And then for me, a right-sided centre-back as cover that can also play in the middle. I'd say 5 and John Mellish. A bit before we go, since Reece James, is Joe Taylor the best loan we've had? Luke Chambers, Liam Morrison, James Balaguese. There is no way you've just dropped James Balaguese into that conversation, by the way. There is no way. That's got to be satire. That has to be. Fox Chapman. Oh, Chapman. Maybe it is 6. Yeah, okay. That's satire, Charlie. Oh my God. I read that and just went, Joe Taylor, Luke Chambers, Liam Morrison, James Balaguese. What? It's obviously Silko Thomas. What are we? Come on. Joe Taylor or Marshall Goddo would be what I would say. Joe Taylor or Marshall Goddo. In terms of output, it's probably Taylor. In terms of the desperation of the situation we found ourselves in, it's probably Taylor. But then obviously Marshall Goddo has gone on to play at Strasbourg in the Champions League. I think they're in the Champions League. But he's gone on to play at a high level. Whereas Joe Taylor, you can probably say ceiling is probably the Championship. So in terms of his performances here, maybe Joe Taylor. In terms of his career and what he's gone on to do, probably Marshall Goddo is what I would say. Joe Hughes brace at Bristol Rovers. Was that where he got the header and then the other one just came off his arse from about a yard out? I've got a mate who's a staunch United fan, right? And he pays a lot of attention to the 21s. I've never had so much weekly disappointment telling him that Joe Hugel is arse. And like, where did he go this year? Was it Barnet? Did he do anything at Barnet? Can we just have a Joe Hugel check real quick? Both 6-yard box goals, couldn't miss if he tried, yeah. Yeah, the header against Wrexham, that's the one I'm thinking of. Joe Hugel has got 6 goals and assists from 9 starts. At Kilmarnock. Oh, he's not. Barnet sacked him off after 0 goals and 0 assists in 5 games. You know what I mean? Like, oh, world-class recruitment, Wigan. World-class recruitment. He's doing fine in Scotland. From 9 starts, 6 goals and assists isn't bad. But he's Crap. He's terrible. Anyway, any more last minute positions you want me to fly through? There's a little bit of a recruitment early doors thing. Any more? Or any more suggestions that we've got? Any more chatter? Is a key point. Will Goodwin. I didn't mind Will Goodwin that much. Surprised he ended up so low at Colchester. How did he get on at Colchester? See, this is just turning into checking on all of our old loanees. Will Goodwin. Thoughts on Adam Senior? Is he a left back? He's the left back, isn't he? 4 goals for Will Goodwin in 12 starts. There you go. Injury prone. Is Adam Senior not the old Bolton one? He's at Barnet. 7 goals and 3 assists. What is that heat map? You can't see it. Brilliant. Can't see it. Basically, it's everywhere. Right back and left back by. Any preferred kit colours for a while? Oh, this is great. Sack transfers for a minute. Kits. Runs his arse off from what I've seen. Fair play to him then. Ooh. I wouldn't mind a green. Because we used to do it where we had the blue, white, and green in the home kit, and we did that a few times. I wouldn't mind. Yep, Brandon agrees with me. I wouldn't mind a green. You know, like Liverpool's, I want to say away kit this year. That's like a really nice, like mint green. I won't mind one of them. Then your third kit, you sort of just you do what you want, really, don't you? Third kit. Oh. What was our away kit this year? Oh, it was the beautiful one. Oh, God, they're not going to top that, are they? Listen, power to you, O'Neills, but if you top that, fair play, but I don't think you can. Okay, I'm going to say away kit, sponsored by the Lathams, black and yellow. I know we did that a couple of years ago, but Lathams in it. I just want it to be sponsored by Lathams, to be honest. Away kit sponsored by the Lathams, black and yellow. Third kit, green. Are we happy with that? What are we thinking to that? Like a mint green. Heinz. You know what I mean? Don't mind a red away kit. Nope. Straight up no, Ben. Sorry, no. Red kit's in memory. Admin kit. Kel Watts kit. And the really horrible one where Gavin Massey, Nathan Byrne sported it for the advert. And it was like red, but with like blue. No. Just no. Sarah Guilfoyle told me that we have the option to customize buttons on shirts. So that sounds like at least one will be a collar style shirt. What do you mean customize buttons? Like what does that do? Yellow and blue pinstripes is a bad one. Yeah. And as you say that, Brandon wants yellow with stripes. I think I know what you mean, though, Brandon. Like the yellow and black halfway line goal one. Yeah, what does buttons do, really? Because I'm not going to lie, I've never looked at like we can have WAFC or 1932 on the buttons. But buttons are only small, right? Does that make that much of a difference? Maybe I'm being facetious. Or I just don't understand because I'm an idiot. It's a nice detail though. Like to be fair, I'm a bit of a sucker for that. Like the back, like stuff being in the back of collars, that sort of malarkey. But respectfully, who cares about button? I think I'm with Wardy here. Don't really mind, but I do respect O'Neill's and the like commitment to allowing clubs that a bit more freedom in a kit. I think that should be the way it is, to be honest, because it's better than a template. Of course it is. If you make a kit that is, look, it'll take more effort, but if you make a bespoke kit for each club the way they want it to represent their history and their towns, people are going to buy more of it, surely. So I do think they go about it in the complete right way. So, big up O'Neill's, big fan. Anyway, I don't care about a button, but Sarah just hinted that it could be a shirt design rather than just a round neck shirt. Yeah, fair. I do like a collared kit, but it has to be done right. It was done right with the away kit this year. It was done horribly wrong with... Have we had like a red one with a collar? Did the red one have a collar? The Kel Watts kit? Can't remember. Anyway, I think that's us done. You know we're done when we've entered with the retain list and we're leaving on kits. I think that's probably us done, isn't it? One more look. I'll have one more question for you. Biggest surprise that isn't the following: Callum McManaman, Jason Kerr, Chris Z, Williamson. I want your biggest surprise. Is it Joe Hungbo? Is it Babaradiko? Is it keeping someone on that hasn't made the transfer list? Maybe a John Mellish. I want your one takeaway from this that isn't those four. No Kerr, no Aimson, no McManaman, no Z. What's your biggest takeaway from this list? I mean, the biggest takeaway from this list is it's going to be a long summer ahead. I'm going to try and bring this podcast back for the summer. I've struggled over the last couple of years because I'm at uni and I do so much stuff that I've neglected this channel a bit, and I've neglected Wigan football quite a bit. I still go to games, I just don't do this as much. I might bring it back over the summer. I can't see myself doing match reactions and match previews next year, to be honest, because I'll be back at uni and it'll be my final year and I'll have way too much on. But I wouldn't mind bringing this back over the summer for transfers if that's something people would like to see. It just got back. Sorry, I missed it. We should sign Reece Cole. There you go, Rigo. But yeah, I want one takeaway from this. Rigo, you can join in here at the end, mate. This is the final question of the day. No Jason Kerr, no Will Aimson, no Chris Z, no Callum McManaman. What's your biggest takeaway from this retained and released? At least 5 of those new contracts have signed. Still space to bring in some key players. Most likely released players, i.e. Niskanen and Wright. Club's in better hands with Cobble and Perkins. At least 5 have signed. Oh, were you on about like Weir's probably going to sign, McManaman's probably going to sign, Chapman, Graham, Mosley, Z Adams? Or do you mean like that they've signed? Are we getting an exclusive from Charlie here? Or are you just sort of running on the presumption that the youngsters will sign? Because it's a safe one to run on if so. But yeah, everyone else getting your one takeaway. Your one key takeaway. Is it someone like a Mellish being kept on? Is it maybe Hungbo being shifted, Adiko being shifted? Are you really surprised that Melissa Samoa's been shifted? Don't know why you would be. What are you saying? Baba transfer listed? Fair. Yes, I believe some have actually signed, or at the very least, I found those in the details. I'm not going to ask you on a live stream, but I would quite like to know the names if you've got them. Baba, Johnny Smith, and Hungbo all being sold. All deserve another year IMO. Seems like we really want a massive overhaul. Yeah, we covered Johnny Smith. I don't really argue with that one, to be honest. I just don't think he suits the system. I don't think he was that good anyway. But that's a convo for another day, maybe, if he actually moves on, which I think he will. Right. I think that's just about us done. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching the Latics Lowdown again. I'll bring these back. How often do we want them? I feel like weekly might be a bit much. Depends how quick our transfer speed kicks off. I'll probably be back in a few weeks. I'll do a podcast around people that I would bring in. I'll go away. I'll compile a list of by position, and I'll probably do 2 or 3. 1 for defenders, 1 for midfielders, 1 for forwards. I'll do 3. Defenders, midfielders, forwards. And I'll do those over the course of a few weeks. And then obviously I'll bring you reactions to any rumours, to any transfers, as I did last year with the likes of Paul Mullin. That was great crack, wasn't it, when we figured out that Paul Mullin was signing. So I'll do that again this year. I'll get you lot involved in the chat as always. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow when we've gone into admin and tickle joins Bolton, apparently. Yeah, I'll Paul Kendrick years. I'll go away for a bit. And then I'll probably end up back because I'll leave and everything will kick off. Again, thank you so much for watching. There's been a consistent sort of 12 or 13 people here. There's been a consistent, I'm going to say 5 or 6. Maybe there's more that have been in the chat. Thank you so much. You make these shows as long as they are. You make these shows what they are. We've been going for an hour and 36, an hour and 37 now. And I wouldn't be able to do this without you all, especially not for as long. I didn't plan on doing a nearly 2-hour show tonight because I have got a jet and do a radio show now. But you make these shows what they are, and I'll be back in a few weeks, and we'll do a series. Defenders, midfielders, attackers. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, DM me, or tweet at me with any names that you want mentioned. I'll compile a list, and we'll come back, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Ta-da.